What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to be talking none other than about Digimon TCG and some issues I find a problem. So without further ado, let's see what problems I see with Digimon that might be able to be fixed by some other means. So without further ado, let's dive into the video and talk about it. So the problems I'm starting to notice with Digimon is that we have a little bit of a situation where product is releasing a little too quickly, and some of the coveted cards for decks are now becoming more and more necessity promos. And that was a big thing with DBS that I remember, that when you needed a certain card, you needed to get it, and they become very pricey pretty quickly. I mean, even in the beginning of, DBS, Dragon Ball Super, that really hindered a lot of players out of the game, and that made it very difficult for players to constantly keep up, because now if you didn't get that coveted promo, your deck is not strong enough to keep pace, or that piece is now making everything broken and now you need it. So promos do seem to be having that issue right now, where let's taking a look at it, we have box topper promos, we have promos from original sets that we can't get anymore. So what card am I really talking about? Well, talking about like Where Garurumon here. So Where Garurumon, if this thing will load, is basically the bread and butter of what makes the Garurumon deck crazy strong right now. So now this card is quite expensive actually, and it's going to cost you a lot of money actually to get 4 of them. It's not a very easy way of getting it, I mean, Where Garurumon is not easy, and it's basically what makes the deck go burr. I mean, without this card, you're going to be struggling to actually keep up in the meta. I mean, there are other ways around it, but your deck will be a lot slower than the meta decks. So that's kind of where it's standing right now, is that you need certain pieces for your decks to go off. But also another problem we're noticing is that as time goes on, older pieces, let's say even this War Greymon here. This War Greymon is quite expensive, to be honest with you. It is a whopping $20 card at times. And that card is needed for the Greymon X Antibody deck. You need it. I mean, you can play EX Blitz Greymon, but you need this card definitely in the deck because that gives you more OTK potential. So it's like, we need these cards, but the problem comes down to is the accessibility of these cards are becoming harder and harder because they are older and harder to find sets. So, I mean, even looking at Magna Angemon here, this card's like $60 at given times. I mean, this is not a cheap card at all, and this is from the original set. There wasn't, like, once a set gets out of print, there's not many ways of coveting these cards, and I get it that in long-term investments wise, it's really good for players, for the investors side of it, the collector side. They have now money, the cards they collected early, they're making money off of it so that they're making some return. I get that, and it makes it really hard for the players that want to get into the game and want to play particular decks. I mean, for me, I always suggest going to use Tabletop Simulator before you even buy into a deck. Testing out the deck for that $20 buy-in really does a lot, and I do have that video up on the channel here. It gives a very informational guidelines and everything like that that'll help you go like, okay, maybe I want to play this deck. Well, I don't want to spend the $300 to test this deck and go like, I don't like it. That's a big thing. I know there are trial decks and starter decks that really do help out, but it doesn't always equal out to what you need for the time being. I mean, yes, you're kind of stuck in a deck theme that you might not like eventually. I mean, yes, it's a start off, but it's tough when you're stuck in a format where you can't get anywhere. And that's really a big thing about it. I mean, why is it that the buy-ins are getting so high? And that is because most of it is promos, or they are really coveted set 1 cards that are very powerful that are now getting boosted because their newer sets are pushing for that boost. So that's kind of my issue here. I think we need something like how Yu-Gi-Oh does it, you know, maybe a tin once a year, maybe a tin. That's all we need. A little bit of something, doesn't have to be crazy, anything like that. I know we have a lot of box topper stuff, but it's usually promos they already planned for being there or anything like that. But I feel like maybe, and we do also have the way of, they do these, sorry, they're making it so that when you guys do the polls and stuff like that, you can vote in for your rares and stuff like that, rare and under, that don't have alternate arts. I wish they did it for the super rares. That would give more chance of adding them into the box, and that would help out. But I kind of get what's going on with that. I see where that's going. Not a huge fan of being and always being rare and lower, but, and then we also do have the event packs. The event packs have been giving us cards that might be a little harder to get, which is fine, but event pack 3 seems like it should have been event pack 2 so that it really did it during the format of where it needed to be. I get that they weren't probably planning on doing it that way, but hey, that's what they're going to do. So I expect that. And, you know, that's really important in some sense. You know, we also did get, you know, DigiFest. You know, we got like Palmon here. Obviously, this helped diminish that $30 Palmon down to like a $14 card. And that really did help out, alleviate the stress of buying stuff, because these were easier to get. You get 1 copy of every card in the Digifest. You know, like Diaboromon, it was a chase card. This was $80 before this card dropped to like a $10 card. That's crazy. I mean, even Rusty Boy here. You know, Rusty wasn't really necessary for a reprint, but apparently it was justified enough because they wanted to make sure people could get a nice foiled one because he didn't have an alternate art. But it's really nice to see they made a Digifest version. And then we got like coveted Pulsemon. We had enough things to get Pulsemon viable again, and everybody was able to get their places to Pulsemons, and that was very important. So that's like one of those big things that I'm glad they kind of did with Digifest. But the problem is Digifest is like looking like a once a year kind of thing, and I feel like they could definitely do 2 Digifest a year. But I get that we want to get the regionals going, everybody getting their invites to Worlds, and Digifest is kind of like that in between to give everybody a taste of what's coming, but enjoy, you know, the festivities and test out different games and stuff like that. I think the major reason why they haven't hosted another Digifest yet was because they're probably waiting for One Piece to be into the market so that they can do a three-way Digifest where it's Dragon Ball Super, One Piece, and Digimon, so that you guys can, because again, it's Digifest was designed as a way of introducing you to all their card games, but it's another valuable instance for that. But we also should talk about their pacing on release schedules. I know I just talked massively about the card issues, but I mean, if they gave a 10 or more stuff like that, it would help alleviate things. What would be also nice is release scheduling. The problem that I've always noticed is that they don't release the starter decks in between months, which Japan does, which gives you 2 full months of a format sometimes that is very stale or not diverse. I mean, let's take in the account of EX2. EX2 was such a beautiful format for a bit until Blue Hybrid just decided to be Dominant King. But that was really healthy. So much different decks, different varieties. It really opened up the format crazily. You know, we had different playstyles, different go-tos, and it was really awesome to see. I was very happy to see that diversity open up when EX2 dropped. But then we got into what's now BT9, and that was only like a month gap. Not enough time for people to enjoy the format. You know, it's like giving them a little appetizer and then just going like, oh, here's you give them the appetizer, and then 2 minutes later, you come out and drop them their full course meal. It's like, I didn't get to saber the appetizer. I really wanted to saber it, and now you're giving me my full course meal. And that's not healthy for card games to do like 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, and then all of a sudden gap 2 months, then main set again. It's like you rush in this little block of 3 really quickly, and it really hurts players' wallets. It makes it really difficult for a lot of players that want to collect the cards or try out multiple decks. It's just not always budget friendly. Yes, buying singles sometimes is the better option, and always the better option. But a lot of people don't always have access to the singles market. They buy boxes because that's what they like to do, and they trade with their friends and stuff like that. But it's never always enough. You need like minimum 7 boxes to almost get a small play set of everything, minus the secrets. You might not get enough of the secrets, but you'll get a decent amount of the super rares and stuff like that. You should be able to build most of the decks. That's fine. The problem comes down still that it's not always accessible very easily to be able to go 1 month, 1 month, 1 month. It's very difficult. It goes way too quickly. So what I'm hoping they do for EX3 is that they space out EX3 and BT11 a little bit. Give it an extra month of flavor, and might really help out. The EX sets work, but what would be really nice is in between sets, if you want to speed things through like that, make tins like this very much accessible, where it's just reprints, where people need these reprints. It would be a little bit easier, because then they can go like, okay, the tins are going to be like $20. I get options to some of the reprints that I needed. That could really make it a little bit easier, because sometimes you just need a little bit of oomph of the older cards to get to the newer cards. I get that they're trying their best with their regional promos and all that stuff to try to get cards in circulation, and I know they wanted to semi catch up to the Japanese market, but at this point, don't worry about catching up. I think we're fine with what our meta is. It just would be nice if they made some corrections sometimes, even with the restriction list and stuff like that. Hit problems a little bit easier. I mean, they don't have to kill and neuter the deck, but they can just make it a little more fair and balanced. So that's kind of where I'm standing there for. So that's kind of how I feel. And it can be very easily just when an EX set drops, gap it a month. Just give it a month of another month of breathing. So it's like you can have your things, but make it so that people have time to save up again, because going back to back really burns people's wallets quickly, especially when it's coming down into regional events and stuff like that. You have so many major events going on that you're like, I'm struggling just to get there. So it's just one of those things that you have to pay attention to. So guys, what did you think of this video? Let me know down in the comments what you guys want to see Digimon kind of improve on. Hopefully you guys found this video informative, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!